there are 5 kleshas: ignorance, fear, ego, attachment or desire, and aversion. Anytime our thoughts are colored with these, like yesterday I mentioned one example, right? It's okay to have the thought, but if you're having the thought with some fear, an emotion attached to it, there's an additional electromagnetic signature to your thought. It gets stored much deeply in your mind. So, anytime your boss shouts, it's not a good thing. If the boss shouts separately, it is okay. But if the boss shouts in front of a team of 10 people, then it is not okay, right? Because there are two things, right? The biggest thing is my ego gets hurt, right? What will other people think of me, right? So, and then you start becoming afraid of things. So these are the 5 things. So thoughts are okay. Thoughts keep coming and going. But anytime the thoughts are colored with these 5 emotions is what the problem is. Those are the ones that cause stress. Those are the ones that cause that survival mode, right? So anything of any of these is a no-no. But it's very difficult. So the way we are programmed is that way. So that is why we say in meditation, the idea is to kind of get rid of all kinds of thoughts till you start discriminating, till you start doing things automatically, right? So all kinds of thoughts, you go deeper into your subconscious mind, you cleanse all those pre-programmed memory. That's what happens. So 5 vrittis, 5 kleshas, right? And then aklesha is thoughts without the kleshas is what is akleshas. So kleshas are those. So how do we practice? So Patanjali offers a solution as well, right? So he says mind, yoga is stilling the fluctuations of the mind. And then he says these are the 5 types of thoughts. And those thoughts when colored with 5 types of kleshas are what is wrong. So how do you do this? There's only very simple statement. Abhyasa vairagya tannirodha. You still the mind through practice and non-attachment. What is that practice? That practice is yogic practice. That practice is meditative practice, right? Any practice that allows you to distinguish, allows you to be always mindful. Oh, this thought is more with fear. This thought is because my ego got hurt. So you're able, as long as you're able to clearly perceive that before you act, that is what is what is needed. So practice is that abhyasa, and then vairagya is non-attachment. So in terms of when I say non-attachment, accepting everything, you're not attached to something. It could be things, it could be ideas, it could be people, it could be concepts, right? It could be anything. So not getting attached to those, right? One of the common questions is, how do I know I am attached to that thing or that person? If the absence of that thing or person is causing you get into one of those kleshas, causing you suffering, that means you're attached. So the idea is you are supposed to be unattached to anything. When I say unattached, again, it's not doesn't mean non-possessing something. Right? It's good to have a car. It's good to have a house. It's good to aspire for a BMW car. So everything is fine. But if you don't get it, that's okay. So that is what we mean by non-attachment, right? It doesn't say you'll have to relinquish and renounce all the worldly things and go. That's for the monks on the mountain tops, right? So both practice and non-reaction are still required. And this is what he says, right? So what is abhyasa? What is vairagya? Abhyasa is practice with faith, energy, consistency, courage. Then he writes a lot of attributes on what do I mean by abhyasa or practice. You have to do it with vigor. You have to do it with interest, not someone has forced you to do something. If you look at it, that is what, in fact, I keep seeing my parents' era, right? So all these japas and rituals, we just do it. Just because someone told us to do it, we just do it. We continue repeating day after day, I don't even know. Or if I ask some people, they also don't know. You just do it. Don't ask silly questions. Just keep doing it, right? So that is how. So it's not about that. You'll have to do it with a purpose, with an interest. Even for meditation, that's what I keep saying in my classes. Meditation needs to come from inside. You want to do your mind training. Just like we all want to look good and go to our physical training classes, our gyms and walking and others. Similarly, meditation is mind training. I need to behave well. I need to behave good. I need to be creating wonderful things. All kind of Apple iPhones, that kind of things, right? So I need to be creating. To do that, your mind needs to be tapping your intuition. That is why I'm doing meditation, right? Not because I want to attain moksha, or not because I want to attain enlightenment, right? So that is where this thing, right? The two are very simple again. So practice and non-attachment or detachment, right? And for that, he's laid this eightfold path of Ashtanga Yoga. It starts with the yamas and niyamas. So these are more principles, it's more like our moral science classes in school. You do this, you don't do this, right? So this is more about bottom thing is all about not doing something. So it's about non-violence, non-lying, non-stealing, right? Non-wastage of vital energies, non-greed. So those are the things. The next line is about what you should do, right? Swadhyaya, tapas, Ishvara pranidhana, purity, contentment. Contentment is again related to non-attachment. So those are the two things that we need to practice. Very related is what Buddha's eightfold path as well, right? Buddha has this eightfold path: right concentration, right work, right attitude. So if you look at it, Patanjali summarizes all that because Buddhism happened a lot before Patanjali. So he looked at it. Abhyasa Vairagya, for example, is a key statement in Bhagavad Gita as well, right? So he summarized things from Bhagavad Gita, he summarized things from Buddhism. I'm sure there are a lot of things from other religions at that particular time as well. So these are the yamas and niyamas. And what we do in Anapanasati meditation that we learn is more of these. So Patriji saw a lot of people, okay, this is like more teaching and people follow or not follow. So Patriji said, let me start from the top. Let me get in here because once you do any of these layers, it's assumed that the bottom layer slowly you will get there, right? Otherwise people get stuck here. Okay, I'm doing good, I'm doing charity, I'm serving, but still I am suffering, right? So that means they have not crossed the different levels of consciousness. So for example, here we talked about asana. The asana for our meditation is sthira sukha asana. That's all. So we just head and body is comfortable. We just clasp our hands. That is sthira sukha asana. That is all. Patanjali Yoga Sutras, that is the only statement about asana in Patanjali Yoga Sutras. He doesn't talk about all the other mudras and asana postures, hatha yoga postures, right? So asana. Pranayama, again he says, though he has a few sutras on deep inhalation and exhalation, one of the things he says is pranayama, sukhamaya pranayama. Right? That is what we do. We don't do deep breath, deep inhale, deep exhales, though they have other benefits and other things. But in our meditation, we just do follow our normal natural breath. Pratyahara is the first step. We close our eyes, we shut all the environment, right? And then slowly start focusing on our breath, right? So we bring our attention, instead of scattering our attention, we bring our attention back to your breath. Dharana is concentration. And then the other states of joy, bliss, peace, everything happens in dhyana. That is all we do. And then ultimate absorption happens. Samadhi happens. That is very deep, high states of meditation. So in that, again, Patanjali talks about multiple samadhis, multiple states of samadhi. In some places, there are some states of samadhi where your absorption, where your samskaras from past lifetime are still there. But in advanced deep meditation, even those get dissolved. Similarly, jhanas, there's the third and fourth jhana is lot better, where you completely lose yourself. Right? You don't even feel your this thing, right? Third sutra, tada drasta swarupe vasthanam. So once you still your mind, once you still your thoughts, you reside in your own self, right? You are connected with your inner intelligence. Now let us look at why do we have the thoughts we have, right? So now shifting gears from Yoga Sutras laid the science, right? But what happens in reality? And why do things happen that way, right? So there are some books that call this as the great misunderstanding, right? So we live in this whole great misunderstanding. It is also referred to as outside-in thinking, right? What is our outside-in thinking? So I'll be happy when I get the money or car. I'll be secured when I find the right work, right job. I'll be fulfilled when I have the right partner. You can apply any of those words to any of these here. That is what we think, right? That is what we've been programmed or educated, so quote unquote, by our family, by our books, by our education system, right? So it's always about my state is dependent on something outside me. That is how it is, right? And that's what they call it as the great misunderstanding. Our experience of life comes from our circumstances outside of us, from something relatively visible. So that is what we believe, right? And if you look at it, again, these are general statements. You can I am suffering because of I don't have money. You can replace it anything, right? Or I can't be a great musician because I don't have parents who support me. Whatever. So you could be whatever it is, right? So I was in particular state until I lost. I was wonderful until I lost my job, or I lost my bachelor route. I became a married person, whatever, right? So this is what we always believe, that circumstances causes us happiness, whatever those states. So that is what we're trying to unlearn. Whatever we're talking about, meditation is basically a process of unlearning. So you want to unlearn from, that is why we're going through all these motions of meditation and all the ritual practice, right? All those essentially have that. And again, that reflects in this, in terms of, there are like, let's say 2 or 3 people. 3 people go and watch a movie. What happens? Do everyone agree the movie is good? No. So why is it? The movie is the same. This is still an external thing, right? So external thing, the movie is the same, the actors, all 3 people have watched the same movie. In spite of that, some like it, some do not like it, some have serious observations. So what does that mean? The liking or not liking aspect is within that person, not in the movie, right? The attachment or the happiness of me getting a BMW car is not in the BMW car or getting the BMW car. It's in me. Once I get the car, 2 days later, that feeling moves on to something else called content and form. The content keeps changing, right? If it is not a BMW car, it could be some person or it could be some idea, right? So where your ego wants to keep getting it, right? So what it says is you create your own experience of reality moment to moment from within your consciousness using the power of thought. All these are thoughts. The thought that particular movie is good, or the thought that particular movie is could have been something else, right? So everything is thought. So similarly, for example, so a person doing a job can feel inspired and energized, whereas the person sitting right next to him doing the same job could find it boring. That would be stressful. Why? The job is the same, whereas the person, the mental attitude of the person is different, right? And then a person can become convinced that their business partner is cheating them regardless of the reality, right? They create their perception using thought and they make that their experience, right? So like we talked about yesterday, law of attraction. If you feel your partner is cheating in your business and you keep thinking about it, the exact thing will happen. It may not be intentional, but coincidentally something happened and your mind says, see, I told you, your partner is cheating, right? So all these tricks are played by the mind. So ultimately, the point is everything that we experience is manufactured, produced by our thoughts, by our mind. That is all. So any good thing can be experienced as bad by a person. Any bad thing can be experienced by, again, bad and good are again relative depending on the people, right? So the whole idea is whatever we experience, whatever reality we experience is a movie in our mind, in our brains. That is all. Nothing else, right? So what that gives us, it gives us the immense power for us to change. It gives us immense power of change. It's not that I need to spend maybe $1 million or a lakh of rupees on some equipment for me to change myself. No. So the only thing that this book talks about is all that you need is just change the thought. One thought you change, you are happy.